I like to call them serial squatters. That's what they do.
There's a North Texas couple out there tonight playing a very aggravating game of cat and mouse with other people's homes. They move in and then refuse to move out, owing homeowners tens of thousands of dollars.
Our consumer justice investigator, Kristen Severance, joining us right now. You have spent months working on this story.
Yeah, I'm going to introduce you to Heather and William Schwab. Court records show that they've been getting evicted since 2005. They were kicked out of 8 homes just in the last 2 years. And we found they keep moving into nicer and more expensive places.
I spent 2 hours with them.
Christine Reddick was trying to find the perfect family to rent her late father's home. She thought Heather and William Eric Schwab were it.
And that's how important this was. We did one of these for hours. It's not like, here's your keys, come on in.
She says everything on their application checked out, from salary to rental history. How much was rent a month?
It was over 2.
Right away, the rent check bounced and the excuses started.
Can't talk. Eric's grandmother died. CPS is coming over. I got fired at my job. You can only go so far with a story. I was born at night, not last night.
Christine started the eviction process.
There's a process, and the weird thing is it protects them or buys them more time.
The Schwabs moved in July and were kicked out 5 months later.
There was stuff everywhere. They smoked in the house. My pool was now a Mountain Dew green.
They still owe her more than $7,000. Christine, a realtor, said they lied on their application.
Nobody in their right mind would lease to somebody with all those evictions.
She had no idea the Schwabs had been doing this for years. Court records show they were evicted at least 14 times before moving into Christine's home. Former landlords say they use fake information to get in and work the system to stay as long as possible without paying. And they bring several kids and pets along with them.
What I don't understand is how?
Records show the Schwabs were evicted 2 more times before moving into Dustin and Arlene Harrison's home in Carrollton.
They made it a big deal, like, hey, it's Thanksgiving, we just need to get in real quick, and it just seemed like good guys, good people, to be honest.
The Schwabs claim they were military veterans, just like the Harrisons, and small business owners.
And they owned their own collection agency.
The first check was no good.
It bounced, but they're already in. But that's a part of their thing.
Dustin said he kept covering rent, giving them more time.
I'm just a good old East Texas boy, just I'll help you out.
Then the Harrisons started getting foreclosure notices.
We were paying a mortgage on a home that they were just squatting in.
The Harrisons tried to evict the Schwabs themselves, but quickly learned
these people know more than we do. So I contacted a lawyer.
I like to call them serial squatters. That's what they do.
The Harrisons hired attorney Mark Gerling. Gerling knew the Schwabs. He had just evicted them from a home in Louisville.
They know eviction law in some cases as well as many attorneys.
The Schwabs were kicked out of the Harrisons' home 7 months after moving in.
The animals peed everywhere. It was really gross.
It was horrible.
And thanks to the Schwabs, their credit was now horrible too.
I don't know if we should tell you credit scores, but we're a 780, I'm a 530.
The Schwabs left the Harrisons' home and moved into a house a mile away. They were evicted. They moved 0.9 miles from that home and were evicted again.
These people are chronically just victimizing, and no one's holding them accountable.
We found the Schwabs had moved into a gated community in Frisco. They were living in this $450,000 home, got evicted, and moved 0.3 miles away to another home in the same development. We tracked down Heather outside of court on a bad check charge. We'd like to talk to you about all your evictions. We found at least 20 over the last 17 years. First, she claimed ignorance.
What are you talking about?
Well, you and your husband, you don't pay rent and you keep going into more expensive homes when you owe thousands of dollars in back rent.
No idea what you're talking about.
Then she said it was another Heather Schwab.
Well, I know there's another Heather Schwab, in fact, in the same court I am. So
no, it's definitely you. We've been investigating this for months.
For months? I cannot help you.
But you're the one who did it.
Ma'am, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Here, let's go over all of these landlords.
Well,
Christine Reddick, Matthew Lawbert.
I've got an appointment.
Do you plan on paying any of this rent?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Heather.
Now, excuse me.
About a month after Heather and I talked, the Schwabs were getting evicted again.
I'm just still in shock.
Chrissy Merrill said Heather and William owe them at least $4,000.
I think it's criminal to move into a house knowing you have no intentions of paying rent.
Their attorney is Jeff Sprigg.
The Schwabs like to game the system.
Sprigg, too, had just evicted the Schwabs.
They know what to look for. They know who their victims are going to be.
In court fighting the eviction, William Schwab said they were too poor to pay, and they only made $3,500 a month. Sprigg showed the judge their W-2, which shows they made more than $15,000 a month. Days after that court appearance, they were evicted in the beginning of October.
The whole house is missing smoke detectors. Trash. I mean, I think this is dog poop.
They moved from the Merrills to a $473,000 four-bedroom located just 10 homes away.
If you could say something to the Schwabs, what would you say?
How do you sleep at night?
So the homeowner in their new place is currently trying to evict them. That homeowner hired attorney Jeff Sprigg, who told us that the Schwabs will sometimes target homes that are for sale. They say they're going to buy the place and pay rent until closing. That way they don't have to go through any background check or fill out a rental application.
I'm going to echo what every one of you are probably feeling right now, and that is we have zero vested interest in these properties, and blood is boiling. How do they get away with this?
Everybody wants to know, right? How do they keep doing this? Now, Representative Rodney Anderson says the whole serial nature of this should be criminal. He's requested that the Texas legislature investigate this. And now the Business and Industry Committee of the State House will hold hearings to see if the current law needs changed or if a new one should be written.
This is a pattern of criminal activity of using fraudulent information to obtain property illegally. We're going to lie on our applications to be able to get into these properties. We're going to live there rent-free for however long until you get me out. And it's your responsibility as the property owner to get me out. That's not right.
Anderson is also working with the Tarrant County DA's office to see if there is anything under the current state law that can be used to charge the Schwabs or other serial squatters criminally. We'll, of course, keep you posted. I'm consumer justice investigator Kristen Severance, CBS 11 News.
One other note here, Kristen's also learning about another unexpected twist in this case. She found out that the Schwabs also stopped paying to board their pets. Milo and Molly have apparently been at Barney's Ranch in Carrollton since May. Here they are. The owners say that the Schwabs brought the dogs in to stay for a few weeks, kept saying that they'd come back, but they never did. The Schwabs, by the way, told Kristen tonight that they couldn't afford to pick up the dogs, and they have agreed to let the owners of this place find their dogs a new home.
It was a heartbreaking story, truthfully. We've never, in over 6 years, have ever seen anything like that. We've never had anybody abandon their kiddos here with us. And we tried to get in contact with them. We tried to work with them, and then to just find out that we'd been lied to and that they would deliberately leave their kiddos here with us. It's just a terrible story.
Those owners also tell us that Milo and Molly need to stay together, and they are great with kids and other dogs. If you're watching tonight, they are available for adoption. Struck again.
Attorneys say they've become pros at living rent-free in dozens of homes, evicted at least 20 times, and they are back at it.
So this time, Kristen Severance has tracked them down, and I understand Colorado is where you found them.
Yep. I don't think you'll be surprised, but the Schwabs are up to their old tricks, lying on rental applications, getting into homes, and not paying rent. Texas authorities had Heather Schwab arrested on a felony warrant, but a Colorado judge let her walk.
It's a very wonderful family home.
Deborah Kazemchek thought Heather Schwab and family would be the perfect tenants for her 3,000 square foot four-bedroom home.
She had moved her family up here to help her grandmother, her father, her aunt.
Heather even offered to paint the place. They decided on this rustic blue color for the kitchen.
She was a Texas girl. She was a good old girl.
She said the Schwabs' salary and credit checked out.
They told me they owned their own collection company.
They signed a 2-year lease. The first rent check for $23.50 bounced. It happened month after month.
It was every story that you've ever heard about somebody not being able to pay rent.
She started the eviction process, something the Schwabs are very familiar with.
I like to call them serial squatters. And that's what they do.
We first told you last year the Schwabs were evicted from at least 20 homes in North Texas, bringing several kids and dogs along with them. Many times, they would get kicked out of one place and move just a few homes away. They owe local landlords tens of thousands of dollars.
How do you sleep at night?
Very vindictive, evil people.
The Schwabs like to game the system.
Heather denied it all.
What are you talking about?
Well, you and your husband, you don't pay rent and you keep going into more expensive homes when you owe thousands of dollars in back rent.
No idea what you're talking about.
But you're the one who did it. Now, Consumer Justice has learned just 2 weeks after our first report, the Schwabs moved to Colorado and into Deborah's home.
I like to think that I'm a fairly good judge of character, but I was completely off the mark here.
After Deborah evicted them, they moved to nearby Thornton, Colorado. The landlord says every check bounced.
Why do they call you the serial squatter?
Oh my God.
Heather wouldn't talk to our CBS Denver producer either.
Why don't you just pay around like the rest of us?
Thornton police then arrested Heather on a felony theft warrant out of Texas. But instead of extraditing her to Texas or even calling authorities in Denton County to ask about the charges, a judge let her out on a $1,500 bond. According to the court transcripts, Heather's attorney said it was all a miscommunication. She has a stable house here in Thornton, and she has her own business here that's licensed with the state. Business filings show Heather as the registered agent of Rocky Mountain Credit Management and Wolf AR Management and Recovery, but there's trouble there too. Clients say the Schwabs cold call businesses offering to collect old debts. Instead of handing over the money, they keep it. We talked to a New York business owner who said they stole $19,000 from her. New York State Police say another business is out $6,700. They are investigating the Schwabs for felony grand larceny.
As far as them being con men, they're very good at it. She especially is very good at it.
Deborah said the Schwabs left behind the smell of smoke, piles of garbage, and dozens of boxes. This is what Heather was supposed to paint the kitchen. This is how the Schwabs left it. She'll be painting over the glaring reminder of the serial squatters.
There must be some sort of a thrill that they get. I can't imagine, especially with having children, modeling for your children that this is the way you live.
Okay, Heather is still fighting her extradition to Texas, but when she showed up to court last week in Colorado, Colorado police actually arrested her for theft. This time, a judge set bond at $50,000. Denton County authorities are still hoping to bring her back here to face theft charges.
Begs the question, what are they still doing that they can get away with this?
Right, how can they get into the home?
How do they keep getting in?
Yeah, that's what a lot of people ask. Well, they are using relatives' names and social security numbers to pass background checks, same as they did here in North Texas. Deborah, the landlord in our story, said she didn't even know Heather and William's real names until she saw our first report.
My goodness.
Right. And the rental background checks are, there's a criminal background usually, and then a fairly simple background check. So
yeah, so if they're
get around it.
Right, if they're using their relatives' names, they're able to get in.
Yeah. Case of serial squatters. We first told you about this couple last year, Heather and William Schwab. They have been kicked out of dozens of homes in North Texas. After our investigation, they took their scheme to Colorado.
Consumer justice investigator Kristen Severance has tracked them for a year now. She's been following the saga. And Kristen, you learned the couple is now in jail.
Yeah, both of them. So we knew that Heather Schwab was in jail on theft charges. Now her husband is behind bars too. Just this week, police arrested William Schwab for sexual assault. That allegation was made by a teenage girl in Addison. Police say the girl came forward last August. She said the assault happened in 2015. Now, we've told you how William and Heather Schwab move from home to home every few months, and they never pay rent. They bring several children and pets along with them. They lie on rental applications to get into the homes, and then they don't pay. So after they get kicked out, they often move a few homes or a few streets away, and they start the whole thing over again. After our report last October, the Schwabs moved to Colorado and racked up 2 more evictions. Prosecutors actually found out about their past and charged Heather Schwab with theft just a few weeks ago.
And some of the other victims in this, we know they have children. So you got 2 parents in jail. This is not necessarily uncommon. It happens in life. But what happens to the kids?
People have been asking us about their kids since that first story. How can they keep bringing kids along from home to home?
Yeah.
We couldn't really answer. But now we know, since both parents were arrested, relatives have taken the kids.
So they've stepped up and stepped in.
Digging into for 6 years now. Good evening, everyone. I'm Ken Molestina in for Doug.
Good to have you with us here at 10. I'm Nicole Baker. So the woman who attorneys call a serial squatter is back here in Texas. She served some time out in Colorado prison, and now a Rowlett homeowner says Heather Schwab is back at it, using false information to get into a home that she's not paying rent on. We've got our Andrea Lucia joining us now. With Andrea, again, what's been happening with this? 6 years since we first reported this story.
Yeah, it's incredible. You know, these homeowners say they thought they knew who they were renting their home to. Then the check started bouncing and they started digging, and they realized it was someone they never would have let inside.
Soon after buying this corner house in Rowlett last year, a job transfer forced Jessica and Colin Davis to move.
It is a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house with a in-ground pool and a hot tub. I miss my house because it was awesome.
They rented the home to a woman they knew as Raise Rubel, who they met through Zillow.
They verified her. Her records came out clean.
The deposit and first month's rent payment showed as pending, but then
3 days later, insufficient funds.
As checks kept bouncing, Davis tried looking up Raise Rubel online.
The only name that I can come up with this is a 72-year-old individual.
That 72-year-old she found did have a relative with a name she'd seen before, Heather Schwab. It was on the messages Davis initially received through Zillow. Her renter denied being her.
And she goes, "Oh no, that's just my friend's name." And I got like a sinking gut feeling.
But searching the name online, Davis discovered this.
I'm going to introduce you to Heather and William Schwab. Court records show that they've been getting evicted since 2005.
I like to call them serial squatters.
What are you talking about?
Well, you and your husband, you don't pay rent and you keep going into more expensive homes when you owe thousands of dollars in back rent.
We started looking into Heather Schwab and her husband William back in 2017 after several homeowners said the couple was exploiting the eviction process to live rent-free.
These people are chronically just victimizing, and no one's holding them accountable.
In 2018, Heather Schwab moved to Colorado, where she faced 2 more evictions. Police there arrested her for felony theft. She spent nearly a year and a half in prison and 2.5 more on parole before returning to Texas.
Hello, Heather?
When we visited Davis's house, no one came to the door. We asked police about the case, and they decided to show up too. Still, no answer. But an hour after officers took off, our photographer was still there as the front door opened, and Heather and a man walked out. We tried again to catch up to her, with no luck.
Hi, this is Andrea Lucia with CBS News Texas.
Our phone calls have gone to voicemail.
The wireless customer you are calling is not available.
And numbers Davis says she called for references no longer appear to be working.
I'm going to lose my house. That's the first thing. I'm losing my house.
Without any rental income, Davis says she can't afford to pay the mortgage and her own rent in Florida.
How are you dealing with this? I'll be moving in with family.
So now you're without a home.
Yes. Yeah, I have to move my daughter once again.
Davis says she called police and the Dallas County DA only to be told it was a civil issue, not a criminal one.
And she's getting away with this. And nobody, besides you guys, wants to hear about it.
Davis has started the eviction process. She shut off the water, too. Days later, though, the city of Rowlett received an application from someone named Heather Rubel to open a new account for water service and turned it back on. But when the city noticed problems with that application, off it went again.
Is the water off now?
The water is off. It's devastating. It is so devastating.
With laws in place to protect renters and eviction cases backlogged, Davis has discovered kicking a serial squatter out isn't easy. She's now fighting for her home, frustrated there's not more help available.
Why are you guys protecting her? Why is Texas protecting her? Because she did this maybe once or twice in Colorado, and they put her in prison.
Yeah, get this. Davis believes Schwab is using her relative's name and social security number to pass background checks. We did find a law in Texas making it illegal to use false information to obtain property. We asked the Rowlett Police Department, isn't that what's happening here? Well, they have opened an investigation now to see if that is the case.
I mean, my mouth fell open like 3 times watching this story. I have to take myself back, though, to one part. The woman in the story who owns the house, she says she met this renter through Zillow. So you think, okay, that's a reputable company. They verified her. Did they have any reaction to this?
Well, you know, it does look like Ray's Rubel is a real person, and all this vetting is done online through a third party. Zillow says it connects landlords to third-party services for this vetting potential renters. It did send us a statement saying, quote, "We prohibit any user from impersonating another person and operating under false pretenses. We take such behavior seriously and do not tolerate it on our platform."
Serial squatter that we have told you about this week is on the move, and we're getting a firsthand look at the mess she has apparently left behind.
So if you've been with us, you know we've been reporting on Heather Schwab for years at this point, about 6 years. She served some time in a Colorado prison for using other people's identities to try to get into houses, and then she refused to pay rent or leave. She was just staying around. Andrea Lucia is live right now from that home in Rowlett, where, Andrea, she was just living there recently. I mean, we knocked on the door a couple days ago, no answer, and now you're getting a look inside.
Yeah, absolutely. The homeowners, Colin and Jess Davis, notified Heather Schwab that they were going to do an inspection on the property today. They were expecting a confrontation. In fact, they invited police to be here so that, you know, they'd be safe in case things kind of blew up. But when Colin Davis and those officers walked inside, they found the house empty. Davis invited us inside to see for ourselves. Air mattresses that he'd seen in the bedroom just a couple days ago are gone. The furniture that you see in that house belongs to the Davises, not Schwab. There is quite a mess. We saw rotting food, cigarette butts, beer bottles. The water to the house, you might remember, was turned off. So it looks like Heather and her son were stocking up on soda and water bottles to drink from and also to pee in. They left all of that behind, and oddly, it looks like Schwab also painted a portion of a cabinet and the fireplace. So all a bit strange.
What did the homeowner, and I'm just sitting here, I think we all, you know.
My mouth is open again.
Wherever you live, we think, oh my gosh, if this were my place, what did the homeowner have to say about the condition of the house?
Yeah, you know, he was actually relieved to see the inside of the house. I know that sounds kind of strange. I mean, there certainly was quite a mess, but there wasn't any serious damage. You know, the locks will have to be changed. There's some repainting that has to be done. But yeah, the Davises say, you know, they still need to check around and make sure. But right now they're you know, pretty hopeful they'll be able to clean up the mess and then be able to either rent the house out or sell the property.
We're going to pray for Heather, Andrea, but I want to ask, do we know where she's going at this point? Do we know what's going on with the police investigation? Have we any idea what's next for her?
Yeah, I have no idea where Heather Schwab is, but if somebody watching does, I would love to hear from them. The Davises certainly don't plan on dropping this issue. They say she owes them thousands of dollars in unpaid rent, an unpaid water bill, and, you know, more importantly, they say she's been evicted more than 20 times here in North Texas. They are pretty confident that she's going to continue to do this unless she's held accountable. And as for the Rowlett Police Department, I checked with them. They are still investigating. In fact, they are working on getting a case together to present to the Dallas County District Attorney to see, you know, if any criminal charges might end up being filed here.
Crazy, crazy story.
Heather Schwab earlier this week, she actually served time in prison for using other people's identities to get into homes and then refused to leave.
Imagine that. Tonight, Andrea Lucia reporting that Schwab is finally out of the Rowlett home where she and her son were recently living, and we all get a firsthand look at what was left behind.
We're here inside the house where Heather Schwab was squatting, invited in by the homeowner, and it looks like Heather is gone. Take a look inside this bedroom. There's still dirty clothes on the floor, but we know there used to be a mattress here, and that is gone. Also, remember the water got turned off? Well, take a look at all these cans and bottles. It looks like this is how they were staying hydrated and how they were relieving themselves. Colin Davis arrived today expecting a confrontation. He even asked police to be here in case things got heated. But once inside, they found the house empty.
So there was a air mattress, couple blankets here.
Left behind is a mess. Rotting food, cigarette butts, beer bottles, and bottles that make it look like Heather Schwab and her son were, well,
Peeing in the bottle.
I'm pretty sure that was pee in the bottle.
Schwab also appears to have painted part of a cabinet and the fireplace.
It was just almost like homeless people living in here.
All in all, though, Davis is feeling relieved.
It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I was expecting the shelving even right behind you to be smashed, like mirrors to be broken, holes in walls to where we're going to have to patch up everything like that. But luckily, the fact that it's just minor paint issues and smoking issues, like that's a little bit more of a relief.
As we were interviewing,
hello?
A worker with errand furniture arrived to pick up a refrigerator he said was rented to someone here.
Heather Rubel.
So that's actually a tenant that doesn't have any authorization to be here.
Heather Roybal, one of Schwab's aliases, and not the one used to lease this house. It's one more piece of evidence the Davises are collecting, hoping the Texas legal system will one day hold her accountable. Well, the Davises are going to clean up this mess in the hope of being able to lease the property or sell it. One big question, though, is where Heather is now, because after being evicted more than 20 times, the Davises are confident she's not about to stop the squatting now. In Rowlett, Andrea Lucia, CBS News, Texas.
We appreciate the update, Andrea. So she may be gone, but the Davis family, of course, says she still owes them thousands of dollars in rent that she never paid. And Rowlett police tell us, yes, they're still investigating, and they're getting ready to take this case to the Dallas County DA's office. Serial squatter that we've been reporting on for years now. We're talking about Heather Schwab. Well, she's now officially a wanted woman.
Now, we have told you about her history, that where she moves into dozens of homes, then she refuses to pay rent. She does it all the time.
Yeah, it's kind of wild to see. So for the first time ever, there's a felony warrant for her arrest here in Texas. We've got our Andrea Lucia joining us now with the update. Andrea, you've been on this story from the jump, so fill us in here.
Yeah, well, Heather Schwab served time in prison in Colorado for doing this. But here in Texas, where she has racked up more than 20 evictions, this is the first time we are seeing serious charges brought against her. Rowlett police are accusing Schwab of third-degree felony fraud for using a false identity to rent the home of Jessica and Colin Davis. We introduced you to them last month. The lease on their Rowlett home was signed by a woman using the name Ray's Rubel. Once she got the keys, though, they say her checks started to bounce, so they started digging and found our reports on Heather Schwab and gave us a call. When we showed up, it was Schwab we spotted living there. Police initially told the Davises this was a civil matter, but after we reached out with questions, they took a second look.
At that point is when we opened up the investigation, and we referred with the Dallas DA and got some direction from them, and that's how we came to get this arrest warrant out for her.
Yeah, police say the vast majority of disputes between a landlord and a tenant are civil matters and need to be settled in court. The key difference here, though, is that Schwab was using a false identity. It is a rare charge to pursue. In fact, the department told me this is likely the first time they've done it, but considering her history of similar behavior, they said they decided to give it a try.
Well, they're going to give it a try. First time for them, as you mentioned. But do we know, Andrea, what actually happens now?
Well, Rowlett police, or really any police department in Texas, will arrest Schwab if they can find her. They don't know where she is right now. We do know that she left the Davises' home after we started reporting, and it drew a lot of attention, but we don't know where she is now. Police are hoping to get the word out so that if anyone out there does have information, they can give officers a call.
boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? When you were 8 and you had bad traits, you go to school and learn the golden rule. So why are you acting like a bloody fool? If you get hot, then you must get cool. Bad boys, what you gonna do? Or what you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? Or what you gonna do when they come for you? You chuck it on that one, you chuck it on this one, you chuck it on your mother and you chuck it on your father, you chuck it on your brother and you chuck it on your sister, you chuck it on that one and you chuck it on me. Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Nobody now give you no break. Police now give you no break. That old soldier man I give you no break. Not even your eyes now give you no breaks. Well, hey, bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Mother with the love of a father. Reflection comes and reflection goes. I know sometimes you wanna let go. Hey, I know sometimes you wanna let go. Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? You're too bad, you're too what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? You chuck it on that one, you chuck it on this one, you chuck it on your mother and you chuck it on your father, you chuck it on your brother and you chuck it on your sister, you chuck it on that one and you chuck it on me. Bad boys, what you gonna do? What
you.